Welcome to this episode of the story. Have you subscribed yet? Chapter 4. The Gilded Plate Detects Anomaly, the Hidden Edge in the Sleeve. Shen Yan hurried back to his dormitory on the bottom floor of the copying department, stepping on the blue stone path. The cold wind outside the corridor whirled with snowflakes, slapping against the tattered wooden windows with a mournful woo sound, as if weeping for the paperweight beast trapped in the archive room. He clutched the ancient book and silk cloth tightly to his chest. The ink spirit curled up in his lapel, its weak spiritual energy seeping through the rough linen, soothing his tense nerves slightly. The dormitory was small and shabby, containing only a hard wooden bed, a corner-missing desk, and a creaky bamboo chair. Several stacks of pending copy rubbings piled in the corner, and the air was filled with the same musty smell as the archive room, but with a faint ink fragrance that belonged to him alone. He bolted the door tightly with a thick wooden bar, then leaned against it, gasping for breath. Cold sweat streamed down his cheeks, and he realized his scribe's robe was soaked through, clinging uncomfortably to his back. Carefully placing the ancient book and silk cloth on the desk, he gently lifted the ink spirit from his lapel and set it beside a half-burned candle on the table corner. The ink spirit had grown a little taller, now about 2 inches high. Its jet-black body glowed with a delicate luster in the candlelight, and the innocence in its eyes had faded slightly, replaced by vigilance and resolve. "Sir, is it temporarily safe here?" The ink spirit's voice was still weak, but resolute. It rolled its pitch-black eyes, scanning the cramped dormitory. The prison administration's law enforcement guards have an extremely sharp sense of smell. The law disturbance just now was so intense, they will never let it go. Shen Yan nodded, walking to the desk and touching the ink stick he had brought back from the archive room. The crack on the ink stick remained clear. The golden spiritual light had subsided somewhat, but still flowed slowly inside, like a sleeping volcano containing immense power. Thinking of the paperweight beast left alone to suppress the void mist, a sharp pain pierced his heart, and he clenched his fists. The paperweight beast stayed to cover our escape, resisting the void mist alone. Its power was already weakened. I wonder how long it can hold on. "Sir, don't worry too much," the ink spirit comforted him. "The paperweight beast is transformed from the residual spirit of Bai Shi, an ancient mythical beast skilled in bearing heavy burdens and suppressing evil. Even with only 1/10 of its strength, it can temporarily stabilize the situation with the Jiangsu rune. Moreover, the void mist has just awakened and hasn't fully recovered its power. It won't pose a fatal threat to it in a short time." Shen Yan sighed, knowing the ink spirit was comforting him, but he still couldn't let go of his worries. He picked up the record of error correction from the desk. Although the cover was decayed, the seal characters on the inner pages were still clear. By the candlelight, he flipped through it again. The book detailed the error correction mantra, practiced by the error correction department's cultivators, a technique completely different from the tampering mantra prevalent in the compilation bureau. Instead of plundering fate by altering the code's characters, it enhanced cultivation by correcting errors in the code and repairing law loopholes. Each correct error correction absorbed lawful pure ki from heaven and earth to nourish the body. So this is the true path of literary cultivation. Shen Yan sighed inwardly. Cultivators of the compilation bureau resorted to altering the code and plundering others' fate for rapid advancement, ultimately succumbing to the backlash of false laws. In contrast, the error correction department's cultivators guarded the clarity of the laws and cultivated through their own proofreading abilities. This was the true path aligning with Tao follows nature. He recalled how, during his 3 years copying the code, he had always easily spotted subtle errors in the rubbings, dismissing it as mere carefulness. Now he realized this might have been a sign that he was naturally suited to practicing the error correction mantra. Just as he immersed himself in the record of error correction, a crisp, rhythmic sound of footsteps suddenly came from outside the door, accompanied by the clinking of metal, approaching his dormitory rapidly. Shen Yan's heart skipped a beat. Law enforcement guards. They had indeed tracked him down. "Sir, hide the bone brush and the record of error correction quickly," the ink spirit urged, shrinking instantly and slipping into the crack of the ink stick, only revealing a pair of pitch-black eyes, staring vigilantly at the door. Shen Yan didn't hesitate. He quickly stuffed the record of error correction and the silk cloth map into a hidden compartment under the bed, a space he had dug years ago to store personal items, never expecting it to prove useful now. Clutching the broken bone brush tightly in his hand, he hesitated for a moment before tucking it into his wide sleeve, securing it tightly with a ribbon to prevent it from falling out. After finishing, he straightened his scribe's robe, took a deep breath, and forced himself to calm down as he walked to the door, preparing to open it. "Shen Yan, open up." Routine inspection by the Law Enforcement Department. A rough voice came from outside, full of unquestionable authority. It belonged to one of the law enforcement guards. Shen Yan slowly pulled out the wooden bolt and opened the door. Standing at the threshold was Zhao Yan, his ink-colored law enforcement uniform glowing coldly under the dim corridor lamp, the gilded metal at his waist particularly striking. Behind him stood four law enforcement guards, each holding a saber, their expressions solemn, their eyes as sharp as eagles, scanning every corner of the dormitory. "Flag Lord Zhao, conducting inspections late at night. May I ask what brings you here?" Shen Yan bowed respectfully, trying to keep his voice steady, while his heart raced. He could feel the bone brush in his sleeve growing slightly warm, seemingly resonating with the power of the gilded metal. Zhao Yan didn't answer. He stepped into the dormitory, his gaze slowly sweeping across the cramped space, finally settling on the ink stick at the desk corner. Although the spiritual light in the ink stick's crack had subsided, a faint law fluctuation was still perceptible, an obvious flaw for law enforcement guards trained to detect such anomalies. "This ink stick seems unusual." Zhao Yan's voice was flat, but carried an invisible pressure. He slowly drew the gilded metal from his waist, channeling a trace of spiritual energy into it. The metal instantly emitted a faint red glow. "The Compilation Bureau has experienced frequent law disturbances recently, especially near the abandoned archive room. Were you there just now?" Shen Yan's heart tightened. He hadn't expected Zhao Yan to be so perceptive, noticing even the ink stick's anomaly. Composing himself, he replied, reporting to Flag Lord Zhao. "This subordinate has been organizing rubbings for tomorrow's copying in the dormitory and has not been to the archive room. This ink stick has been my daily tool for 3 years. I have no idea why it has become abnormal." Zhao Yan said nothing. Holding the gilded metal, he slowly approached the ink stick at the desk corner. The red glow on the metal grew brighter and brighter. When he was 3 feet away from the ink stick, the glow suddenly flared intensely, and the faint characters, "Law Anomaly," appeared on the metal's surface, flickering on and off. "There's definitely something wrong here." Zhao Yan frowned, his eyes sharpening as he turned to Shen Yan. "This ink stick emits obvious law fluctuations, clear signs of awakening to spirit. How dare you claim ignorance? The Zuanxi Domain Code Artifact Volume clearly stipulates that ink sticks shall not awaken to spirit. Violators shall be punished for disturbing the laws. Do you know your crime?" Cold sweat instantly soaked Shen Yan's palms, and the bone brush in his sleeve grew scorchingly hot. He could feel the bone brush resonating intensely with the gilded metal's power. If this continued, the bone brush's existence would surely be detected by Zhao Yan. Forcing calm, He bowed again. "Flag Lord Zhao, please be merciful." This subordinate truly doesn't know why the ink stick awakened to spirit. Could it be due to abnormal weather and law disturbances recently? This subordinate will immediately hand over the ink stick to the copying department and await punishment. As he spoke, he slowly moved to block the ink stick, trying to prevent Zhao Yan from further detection, but Zhao Yan sidestepped him easily. Continuing to approach the ink stick with the gilded metal, the red glow grew more intense, and the air in the dormitory seemed to freeze. The law fluctuations became increasingly violent, and the flame of the half-burned candle on the desk flickered wildly, on the verge of extinguishing. Abnormal weather? Law disturbances? Zhao Yan sneered. The Compilation Bureau is protected by Taoist formations. Even if external laws are chaotic, they cannot affect the awakening of artifacts inside. You are clearly lying. His gaze suddenly shifted to Shen Yan's sleeve, as if sensing something. What are you hiding in your sleeve? Shen Yan's heart skipped a beat. He instinctively clenched the bone brush in his sleeve, and cold sweat poured down his back again. He knew the more flustered he became, the more likely he was to expose himself. Forcing calm, he smiled. Flag Lord Zhao is joking. What could this subordinate hide in his sleeve? Nothing but some brush tips and a paper knife for copying. Zhao Yan obviously didn't believe him. Striding forward, the red glow on the gilded metal remained dazzling, showing signs of spreading toward Shen Yan's sleeve. Shen Yan's heart raced as he frantically searched for a way out. He knew that once the gilded metal scanned his sleeve, the bone brush's secret would be revealed. He would be doomed, and the paperweight beast trapped in the archive room would suffer as well. At this critical moment, a warm force suddenly emanated from the bone brush in his sleeve, flowing into his body along his arm. A passage from the record of error correction suddenly flashed through his mind. Error correctors must reflect the laws with their original intentions, substantiate the void, and void the substantial. A thought sparked in his mind. He immediately began practicing the introductory mental cultivation method of the error correction mantra he had just read, focusing his spirit to merge his aura. The story continues, and the subsequent episodes will be even more exciting. Subscribe as soon as possible. All novel videos posted on this site are from the website discoverstories.xyz. This website will be updated continuously.